We live most of our lives chasing something that never truly arrives. Tomorrow. Tomorrow always seems to hold the promise of happiness, the better job, the deeper love, the calmer mind, the safer future. Yet the paradox is this: tomorrow never actually comes. By the time it does, it is already today. And still, most of us live as though joy exists just around the corner, forever slightly out of reach. Imagine standing at the shore of the ocean. Waves rise and fall, endlessly repeating. Now imagine telling yourself, "I will enjoy the sea when the perfect wave comes." You wait and you wait, and perhaps a beautiful wave does appear, curling in perfect symmetry. But by the time you point to it, it has already broken and disappeared. The sea is alive only in movement, in this exact moment. To demand stillness from it is to miss its beauty entirely. Life is much the same. We say, when I finish school, then I'll relax. When I earn enough money, then I'll travel. When I find the right partner, then I'll be at peace. We postpone joy, as if happiness is a reward to be unlocked in the future. But the strange truth, the unsettling truth, is that happiness is never there. It can only be here. Alan Watts once said that the future is a concept. It doesn't exist. It's like a horizon, always retreating as you move toward it. What exists, in all its richness, is the present. The smell of morning coffee, the sound of laughter, the rhythm of your breath. And yet our minds, trained by habit and culture, rush away from the present moment as if it is never enough. Isn't it curious that the harder we try to secure tomorrow, the more restless today becomes? The more we prepare for happiness, the further it slips. Like grasping at water with clenched fists, the tighter we hold, the less we keep. So here lies the paradox. Happiness is not waiting for us in tomorrow. It has always been here, in this very moment, hidden in plain sight. But if that is true, then why do we spend so much of our lives missing it? What happens when we finally stop running toward tomorrow? What happens if we dare to trust that this breath, this sip of tea, this passing smile is not a prelude to life, but life itself? There was once a man who dreamed for years of building the perfect garden. He spent every weekend sketching plans, buying tools, studying magazines with glossy photos of flawless landscapes. When the garden is finished, he told himself, then I will finally be able to rest and enjoy it. Seasons passed. He bought expensive seeds, imported flowers, and even hired workers to help him dig. Yet he always found something missing. One plant was crooked, another patch was too thin, the colors weren't balanced enough. Every time he looked out at his yard, instead of seeing the blossoms, he saw the imperfections. And so, though his garden grew, he never truly sat down in it. He never simply felt the sun on his face or the breeze carrying the fragrance of his own flowers. One day his young daughter wandered into the yard. She was barefoot, her hands sticky from a popsicle, her hair tangled from play. She didn't notice the weeds or the uneven lines. She simply ran between the flowers, laughing, chasing butterflies, stopping to smell a rose with eyes wide as if the world had just been invented. She was not waiting for the garden to be finished. For her, it was already perfect. The man watched her, and something in him cracked. What? He realized he had spent so much time chasing a picture in his head of tomorrow's garden that he had forgotten the simple joy of being in today's garden. Happiness had not been hiding in the design plans or the future arrangement of petals. It was right there, in the grass beneath his feet, in the laughter echoing in his yard, in the moment he almost missed. We do this in countless ways. We wait to celebrate until the promotion comes, instead of celebrating the small victories along the way. We wait to feel love until someone else declares it, instead of noticing the warmth already flowing in our daily connections. We wait to rest until the weekend and then wait until retirement, as if peace only belongs to the future. But life, like the garden, is always unfinished, And that is not a flaw, it is the beauty. If we keep waiting for perfection before we allow ourselves to be happy, we will wait forever. The little girl in the garden shows us what Alan Watts often reminded his listeners. Life is not a destination to be reached, but a dance to be danced. You don't wait for the last note of the song to enjoy it. You enjoy it as it plays. The garden story reminds us of something larger. Happiness does not wait for the perfect arrangement of life. It blooms whenever we allow ourselves to notice it. This is not just a sentimental idea. It is a principle woven into the fabric of existence. Think of a river. It never holds itself back, saying, "Once I reach the ocean, then I'll flow with joy." No, it flows fully in each twist, each bend, each rocky cascade. Its song is not only at the end, it is in every moment of movement. Or consider a tree. It does not wait until it is tall and grand to be alive. Even as a seedling, it stretches toward the sun. Even in winter, bare of leaves, it simply is. Nature never postpones its being. It doesn't live for tomorrow. Yet humans often act as though today is just a rehearsal. We tell ourselves, this moment is practice. Real life will begin later when conditions are better. But as Alan Watts often said, this is it. There is no later, no other stage. The curtain has already lifted, and the play is happening now. When we step back, we see how misplaced our logic is. We think happiness is a goal, like a mountain peak. But in truth, happiness is more like walking a meadow. If you wait until the end of the meadow to smell the flowers, you've missed the point. The richness was in the steps themselves. This principle has a radical implication. If happiness is available now, then waiting becomes unnecessary. Waiting is a habit, not a law of life. We can choose, at this very breath, to pay attention to the sip of coffee, to the warmth of sunlight, to the laugh of a friend, to the silence between words. These are not distractions from life. They are life. Alan Watts once explained it like this: the meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple, and yet everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. The garden, the river, the tree, they all reflect this truth. Existence itself is the gift. The problem is not that happiness is hidden. It's that we are looking in the wrong direction. So the lesson grows clear. Life is not to be controlled or postponed. It is to be lived as it is. The principle is simple but profound. Wherever you are, there you are. And if you dare to open your eyes fully to this moment, you will see that joy has been here all along, quietly waiting to be noticed. There are really two ways of moving through life. The first is the way most of us are taught, the way of control, of delay, of not yet. In this path, we constantly measure ourselves against the future. We wake up already behind schedule. We treat each task as a step on a ladder, and we rarely pause to breathe. This path is heavy with anxiety because it is built on the belief that life is something to be conquered, not experienced. Imagine an orchestra where every musician is trying to be louder than the rest. The violinist forces the bow harder. The trumpeter blasts at full volume. The drummer hammers wildly. Each one is desperate to stand out, to get ahead. What happens? The music collapses into chaos. That is the first path, a symphony destroyed by individual struggle. Now consider the second path, the way of presence, of letting things unfold. In this way, life is less like climbing a ladder and more like dancing to a rhythm. You don't worry about the next step of the dance. You let the step you are in become complete, whole. In the orchestra, each musician listens as much as they play. They trust the conductor's tempo. They weave their sound into the whole. The music becomes something greater than any one of them could force on their own. The difference between these two paths is profound. The first makes us isolated, tense, and endlessly unsatisfied. Even when we achieve, the joy evaporates quickly because our mind has already leapt to the next goal. The second path makes us lighter, connected, and at ease. Success, when it comes, is no longer the condition for happiness. It becomes a byproduct of living in harmony. Alan Watts often compared life to water. If you try to grasp it too tightly, it slips through your fingers. But if you cup your hands gently, water stays. The first path is the clenched fist, the endless tightening. The second is the open hand. And so the choice is not between a mediocre life and a fulfilled one. It is between a life of control that leads to exhaustion and a life of trust that leads to freedom. The one-liner that captures it is this: you can either fight with the river or flow with it, but only one of those feels like living. There is a strange kind of freedom in admitting, I don't know. At first, it sounds weak, even careless. We are taught to always have a plan, an answer, a strategy. To say, I don't know, feels like surrender. But look more closely. Perhaps surrender is not defeat, but release. Think of the eye. The eye sees everything around it, yet it cannot see itself directly. Or the knife. It can cut many things, but it cannot cut itself. The sun illuminates the whole world, yet it cannot shine on its own face. These paradoxes show us something simple but astonishing. Not knowing is built into the fabric of existence. Mystery is not an error in life's design. It is part of its beauty. Alan Watts often invited people to play with this mystery. He would say that the very act of trying to pin life down is what makes us restless. We want guarantees. Will this relationship last? Will this job fulfill me? Will tomorrow be safe? But certainty is like a mirage. We chase it across the desert, only to find that the water disappears as we arrive. When we accept, I don't know, something shifts. Suddenly, life is no longer a problem to solve, but a story unfolding. The unknown is no longer a threat. It becomes an adventure. A conversation you didn't plan might change your direction. A delay at the airport might introduce you to a lifelong friend. A mistake might lead you to a deeper truth than your careful plans ever could. Consider the child again, running through the garden. She does not demand to know where every butterfly will land before she plays. She chases, she pauses, she laughs, and in her not knowing, she is alive. We, on the other hand, want life to hand us a map, forgetting that the map erases the very terrain it tries to describe. This is the invitation of mystery, to let life surprise you. To admit that the next moment is not in your control, and that this is not a problem, but a gift. For if you already knew everything, if every detail were guaranteed, life would be nothing more than a script already written. And where is the joy in acting out a play when you already know every line? So perhaps the deepest wisdom is not in having answers, but in dwelling gracefully in the questions. To rest in the I don't know as a spacious freedom, not a flaw. The mystery, after all, is not outside of life. It is life itself. We began with a paradox. Happiness is not hiding in tomorrow. It is already here, in this very moment. At first, that sounds almost too simple. How could something we search for all our lives be so close? And yet, as we've seen, this is the very reason we miss it. We are so busy running toward the future that we trip over the present beneath our feet. The man in the garden, the flowing river, the music of the orchestra, the child chasing butterflies, each reveals the same truth in different language. Life is not waiting. It is happening. Right now, as you listen to these words, life is unfolding in its unrepeatable way. This moment will never come again, and yet we often treat it as disposable, as just a stepping stone to somewhere else. But impermanence is not our enemy. It is our teacher. The wave crashes, the flower wilts, the song ends. And that is precisely what makes them beautiful. If every wave froze in place, if every blossom lasted forever, their magic would vanish. What makes them radiant is the fact that they pass. Likewise, what makes this moment precious is that it will not return. Alan Watts reminded us, "The present is the only thing that has no end. The past is memory, the future is imagination, but the present is alive." And when we learn to rest here, to really inhabit the breath, the smile, the silence of now, we discover that joy was never missing. It was only overlooked. So here is the invitation. Stop postponing your life. Stop bargaining with happiness, saying, "When things settle, then I will enjoy myself." They may never settle, and that is okay. Joy does not wait for calm seas. It can be felt even as the waves rise and fall. Picture yourself standing once more at the shore. The ocean stretches endlessly, waves tumbling one after another. You could stand there forever, waiting for the perfect wave. Or you could step into the water and feel the cool salt against your skin. You could dive into the movement, dance with it, and know that perfection is not in the wave you are waiting for, but in the moment you are already living. So let the paradox settle in your heart. Happiness is not in tomorrow. It has never been in tomorrow. It is here, now, in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this mystery unfolding before your eyes. Trust this moment. Celebrate it. Live it. For this, not some future promise, is the miracle you have been waiting for all along. Whoa.